Suddenly I awakened in a cold sweat, breathing heavy. I glanced around, seeing no one. It took me several minutes to realize I was alone in the hospital room. No nurses or doctors in sight. It was a one-room occupancy. The window to my left shined bright from the sunlight, causing me to squint from the glare. My focus poor. The chirping sound from a medical machine rang in the distance, somewhat disturbing. It wasn't from any machine in my room. There were actually no machines present where I was. I was encompassed by an eerie quiet, nothing like the bustling sound of a hospital I've known to be. In front of me was an open closet. Dangling neatly from a hanger was what appeared to be a nicely pressed men's gray suit, white shirt, no tie. Next to it and below on its base a well-maintained pair of black men's shoes, and sitting as if purposely placed on a chair, a men's fedora hat. I glanced over the items with unfamiliarity. They weren't clothing items I recognized, but I had an odd feeling they were there for me. I climbed off the bed with a bit of caution, my legs weak. I braced myself against the bed to gain better balance, then slowly I moved towards the window for a look outside. The roads were bare, not many cars or people moving along the streets. I took notice of the parked vehicles. They were of an odd style, their shapes unfamiliar. I then honed in on the scattered people, some wearing strange masks, some not. A strange feeling came over me, as if I wasn't of this time, as if I didn't belong. I moved over to the closet and examined the suit. It was of fine fabric. I explored the outer pockets only to find a faded cassette tape. No title or song names were legible. I opened the room door and looked about the ward corridors. They were vacant. No hospital staff or patients were around. It was as if they vanished into thin air. My first thought was to bolt out of there, but my weak legs wouldn't allow for such movement. I grabbed the attire and shoes, entered the bathroom, showered, then got dressed. As I looked at myself in the mirror, the man staring back resembled someone I once knew, but he looked older, more mature. I exited the room, then proceeded through the corridor with caution. As I glanced in the rooms, I noticed they were vacant, free of patients. Then suddenly something came over me. I froze. My head pounded from an intense headache, my balance off. I braced myself against the wall for support. Visions of ill patients and frantic doctors wearing garbs and masks flashed before me. I didn't know what to make of it. I didn't understand. It was like a bad dream, a nightmare. Just as quick as the visions appeared, they vanished, and so did the headache. I regained my balance and tried to make sense of what happened. Was I being sent a message? Some sort of sign? I made my way to the main lobby. Still no one around. Through the window I could see the street. There were people scattered about, their movement bizarre, like that of zombies being controlled by a dark force. My first thought was to head out and get away, but I hesitated. I was uncertain, unsure. The sound of wheels rolling across the pavement caught my attention, a familiar sound, but yet not so. Suddenly a fella appeared pulling along a suitcase, his attire worn. He stopped a moment and glanced at me. His stare deep. I felt there was some sort of connection. Then he took his eyes off me, and he continued along. I took a moment, but I gained the courage to enter the street. The feel of the wind was odd, but delightful. I could only notice the strange behavior of the people wearing masks. I wanted to ask someone what was going on and what was the cause, but my voice failed me. For some strange reason, I couldn't speak. I didn't hear much conversation amongst the people, which I thought was strange. Their movement didn't fit their quiet. The more I observed, the more bizarre things became. I noticed that of concern and despair on the people's faces, and it was amongst many. I could only question why. As I traveled along, I couldn't avoid noticing the decline in the presence of people. It felt like something of a strange origin was present. Something was in the air. My legs grew stronger and stronger with every step, my energy increasing. Looking out at the city, I noticed new structures and skyscrapers. Much has changed over time. Things have gotten larger, more grand. I stopped a moment to take it all in. It was all new and refreshing. It reminded me of the Renaissance age in its infancy, the beginning of a new era. But it appeared there was an enemy present, keeping people away. I was curious what that could be, and if so, where from. Maybe whatever it is, it's evil, sinister. I entered the grounds of a popular community college once alive with students and faculty now abandoned. Their absence perplexed me. It raised my concern and curiosity. Why were they missing? Where have they gone? The more I wondered, the more concerning it became. Was there something for me to fear? Should I be afraid? A strange feeling came over me. I felt the sense of a foreign presence. Something ominous, that of an omen, stealthy and quiet. I continued on cautiously with an elevated apprehension. Perhaps I could be abducted by an alien entity. Traveling along the neighborhood, I encountered many businesses and storefronts revealing closed signs. It appeared as if people were hiding from something mysterious, something unseen. The devoid of people in public and their wearing of masks troubled me. It was of nothing of real life I've ever seen. It seemed like something out of a film, that of a Hitchcock movie. I took a seat in an enclosure and examined the landscape. Could this be an elaborate trick? Some sort of hoax? I proceeded along, then turned down a side road, a cut-through. It resembled the look of an old town. It was abandoned. I stopped a moment and stared at the flags waving above the buildings. There was something peculiar about their wave. It was as if they were talking to me. They had a story to tell. Strolling along, I came to the end of the road. In the distance, I seen two gentlemen, one standing, one sitting. It appeared they were frozen time, so I approached with caution. There was a strange calm about them. They didn't move very much. I closed on the two gentlemen, and what do you know? The joke was on me. Statues. I examined the sculptures but couldn't make out who they were. It appeared they were from another era, perhaps when life was different. I sat there wondering if they could speak. What would they say about the times? How would they view things? Part of me felt like them, stuck, unknowing. The only difference was I could physically move, with senses. I traveled on, moving through another part of the city known for its crowds and entertainment. But nothing, not a soul in sight. Only space and time. As I moved amongst the buildings, I felt they were staring back at me. Maybe they had questions of their own and thought I had the answers. The more I moved, the more I felt they stared. With every step, it seemed they moved closer. I came upon an open dwelling above a commercial driveway. In the distance, a lonely road, a skeleton of its past harmony. Then suddenly a gentleman appeared walking his canine. What a warming sight and glimmer of hope. For a man and his best friend. Energized like a bolt of lightning, I was impulsed with the energy to scream. What is this? What's going on? Could this be a personal message and sign from the Most High? Slowly my memory began to gain. I recalled some old stomping grounds and headed that way. I arrived downtown Boston. I strolled through observing the closed businesses, the stores unfamiliar, buildings foreign. With every breeze, I could feel the strange in the air. Something was upon me, something dark. My thought was to head back to the hospital dwelling I came from. Maybe I was safer there. Maybe that's where I belong. Staring down the vacant roads reminded me of a ghost town. There weren't any pigeons present. Where were the birds? I grew more and more weary. Maybe I was witnessing an alien phenomenon, something from out of the cosmos. As I moseyed along, I came upon a familiar image, an image that brought me back in time. What do you know? That old Paramount Theater sign. Staring at it brought me back to my youth. a young man full of exuberance. I recalled a happier time, a time full of joy and excitement, but I couldn't connect the dots. I began wondering who I was, what my name is. Did I have family, friends? There was no way of me knowing. I had no identification, no one to contact. I was a man on a mission for something unknown. I traveled on and entered part of the city that appeared to be Chinatown. Glancing at the temple gate, there was something common about its appearance and surroundings. I felt I'd been here before, but yet out of place. The town was barren. There was nothing normal about it. It was all bizarre. A town I recalled full of people, now deserted. On the ground in one of the business doorways, I noticed an open newspaper. I grabbed the paper and read the headlines. It spoke of a viral pandemic, one that was sweeping the nation, the world. I began reading an article. It spoke of death and despair, how world agencies were losing the battle as the number of cases raged on. I looked around cautiously to see if I was being watched. Perhaps whoever left it there was out to get me. I read on in disbelief, but yet evidence of the truth was right there before me. It was all palpable. It was all around. Stunned by what I was reading, it all began to make sense. The lack of people, the masks, the closing of businesses and schools. I carried on in shock and disbelief, accompanied by fear. Could I be a victim like the others? I moved along and came upon a historical part of the city called the Boston Commons, a well-known landmark famed for its tourist attraction. Like many other places throughout the city I traveled, it was bare, free of people. There was an odd calm about the air, somewhat soothing, weird, mystic. I continued on and suddenly was approached by the wildlife, a squirrel and a pigeon. It seemed they had a message for me. Possibly they could explain the occurrence. I kneeled down to receive their address, but as quickly as they advanced, they retreated as if withdrawn by a governing force not inclined for me to know. The encounter baffled me. I was awestruck by their behavior. Animals with a message. How could that be? I could only wonder if the virus was an act of nature or an act of man. Was there something underlying? What did it mean for mankind? Would life ever be the same? Or was it the beginning of the end? Questions pummeled my brain like a hailstorm. The unthinkable had arrived. It wasn't war, wasn't famine, wasn't racism, but a virus that would bring man to the brink of extinction. I could only wonder if nature was reckoning with mankind, or if mankind was being reckless with nature. I hoped it was an act of nature. The thought of man being involved for a particular advancement or elimination was unsettling, but not far-fetched. After all, as constructive as man can be, he can be equally, if not more, destructive. The thought only darkened the situation. Understanding the nature of man, it was likely that of the latter. I could only think of the ultimate question. If man is involved, how will nature respond? As we journey through life on Earth, our experience and behavior paints a unique portrait of the footprints we plant and leave behind. We walk a fine line between truth and illusion. What's real and what isn't. Our involvement is critical, our understanding even more. Has man taken for granted the gift he has been given? Will recklessness and greed lead to his demise?